Joining me now is Colin Woodall, Vice President of Government Affairs for NCBA. Colin, thanks for joining us today.
Kevin, good to be with you.
You know, there are always a number of issues impacting our industry there in D.C. I'm interested, what are some of the issues you hear congressmen talking about right now?
Well, we spent a lot of time talking about the Farm Bill here over the past several years, but especially this past month. I think one of the biggest issues we've been engaged in here in 2014 has been the finalization of the federal budget. First time in over a decade that Congress has actually passed a budget. We finally got an omnibus appropriations bill. It's important for several reasons. One, it brings back a lot of the market data reports that the Ag Marketing Service puts together. It makes sure that we don't have to worry about a furlough of federal meat inspectors this year like we did last year. So getting that done is really a good thing for all involved. And more importantly, to finally have the U.S. Congress focus on getting a budget is a step in the right direction. We hope that they will continue to build on that here in the next couple of years.
At least some action. And how about the regulatory agencies? We hear a lot about that over time. What are you hearing from them?
Well, we've got a lot of challenges with the regulatory agencies, and I think we're going to have several fights here in 2014. Of course, one of the ones we've been talking about for quite some time is the expected fight on waters of the United States with the EPA, specifically how they want to remove the term navigable on what they consider is theirs as jurisdiction. If they do that, they're going to open up to really every body of water that's out there, whether it's a stream, an in-ground stock tank, anything that holds water, they could claim jurisdiction on. It would absolutely just change the face of agriculture. So we are working really hard to make sure that rule does not move forward, making sure that we utilize our friends in Congress to try to defund those activities if it does move forward. And of course, this is a fall on the sword issue for NCBA, so if it does pick up some steam, we're going to have to take them to court eventually. And then one of the other big challenges is making sure that we are engaged in the dietary guidelines. Right. They are being reauthorized here in 2015, so they've already started that process. So we've got about a year to engage to make sure that USDA comes out and says that steak is going to stay in the middle of the plate.
Absolutely. Speaking of fights, you all put up a strong fight in this whole Farm Bill debate. How'd that finally end?
The Farm Bill was not good for cattle producers, plain and simple. Our top priorities, which was fixing country of origin labeling and the GIPSA rule, were not included at the end of the day. Now, there's some good things in the Farm Bill. We have a permanent disaster relief program in place for the first time ever, making it permanent, which is nice. We also have some strong conservation provisions that have been included, but ultimately, we needed to make sure that we fixed cool. Because right now, Canada and Mexico have a WTO case against us. If we don't fix country of origin labeling, then they will ultimately be able to retaliate against us. They are two of our top 5 markets for the export of U.S. beef. So if they retaliate against us, it's going to be a negative impact across the board here in the United States.
And certainly, we talk a lot about what $275, $280 a head value that's brought to us from a trading standpoint. Tell us what you see on the trade front.
Yeah, trade's extremely important for our industry. As you mentioned, when you look at the value on basically taking our carcass and maximizing that value.
Absolutely.
Making sure that we send the parts that we don't necessarily eat here in the United States overseas to people who really want them. A lot of great things really on the trade front. We are trying to finalize the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would open up more markets in the Asian Pacific Rim. And then, of course, really one of the big focuses for us is the Transatlantic Partnership that is going to follow TPP. And it's going to be a great opportunity to really talk with the European Union about some of the non-tariff trade barriers, like the ban on our use of hormones, for example, to really see if they're willing to take those down in order to have meaningful trade between our countries.
You've always said that you can always use a louder voice in Washington, D.C. How can cattlemen and cattlewomen get involved and help you on that front?
Well, first of all, you got to join NCBA. If you're watching this right now and you're not a member, pick up the phone and join, because there are just fewer and fewer of us involved in the cattle industry. And so we've got to make sure that we're speaking together with one voice. But more importantly, get involved in the process. Come to convention. Help us make our policy. That's what we take to Washington, D.C. and then implement in our dealings with Capitol Hill. And finally, you've got to call your members of Congress. They want to hear from you. They really do. Every time we go into an office and we talk about our position, the member of Congress or staff will always say, well, where are my cattle producers back home? They want to know. So they're willing to take your phone call or hear your emails or take your emails. But basically, get involved. That is the bottom line.
It's great advice, and I know you've got a lot of work ahead. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Kevin.
You can join the fight by becoming a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Joining is easy. Just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or visit us online at beefusa.org.